Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conlan, and welcome back to the latest episode of our entertainment show. As you know, in part 3 of our entertainment show each week, we premiere a new movie or TV series that is debuting here in Ireland and the UK for this upcoming month, and especially with Irish eyes are smiling in terms of an Irish interest. And it's time now to go back for a season 2 after a hugely successful season 1 of Single Drunk Female. It's back again for a season 2 here in Ireland. It's coming out on May 31st on Sky Comedy here in Ireland and the UK, and we're delighted to be joined by one of the stars of the show. He plays the role of James Chambers, the one and only Garrick Bernard, and he's alongside obviously Sofia Black Delia, who plays the role of Samantha Fink, Sasha Compere, who plays the role of Britt Montclair, Mae Harrington, who plays the role of Felicia O'Brien, Ian Gomez, who played the role of Bob, and Ali Sheedy, who plays the role of Carol Fink. And Garrick, 20 episodes, season 2. How excited are you? And dare I say, bar the sheets dropping there inside. How excited are you? And how are you excited for Single Drunk Female to be shown here in Ireland and the UK?
Oh, I'm very excited. I genuinely didn't know that we were going to be making it out to the UK and in Ireland, because Hulu is just out here in America. It's just on Hulu and on Freeform. So I'm very excited that we're going international. But yeah, it's truly a blessing and an honor. I literally just got back from London like 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to say like, oh, have you seen this show? And many people hadn't at the time because it hadn't come out yet, but I'm very excited that they're now going to be able to watch everybody's journey.
And I suppose, Garrick, you'd be delighted to know I have my notes back in hand now, so we can actually continue. And tell us about your character, James Chambers, in terms of how he relates to the primary character, Sam, and he's sort of, dare I say, his role or his sequence in Single Drunk Female.
Okay, so yeah, in the first season, it was someone that she had hooked up with before having gotten sober. Both of them haven't gotten sober, and they meet back up a year after that event at an AA meeting. And he is a year sober, and she is just now starting her sober journey. And so he is seen as a lot of a guide for her, and they get a little bit romantic, and later on it's revealed, spoiler alert, in the first season that he relapses. And so he is off the wagon for the remainder of that season. And in the second season, we just pick up right where we left off. It's been about like 6 months, and he is still off the wagon and still trying to see what his sobriety means. A lot of the traditional AA means aren't really working for him. He has a bit of like this faux confidence where he kind of goes into a situation and thinks that he can control everything, but in actuality, he can't. So because that confidence is kind of flimsy, one small thing, good or bad, could throw him into like a tailspin and causing him to drink again. And that's pretty much what we're dealing with in the second season.
So I take it from what you're saying, your character and obviously Sam, there's an area of vulnerability about the characters. They're very sort of fragile, very sort of delicate in terms of how they're dealing with sort of everyday life. And as an actor, is that sort of challenging? Is it sort of exciting to expose that sort of vulnerability in terms of male alcoholism? Because it is a big problem all over the world. Many people, whether it be young, old, they suffer in silence. They have highly successful jobs, some of them leading sports stars, but once they come home that evening, once the lights go out, when they lock the door, dare I say, the problem sort of begins. And apart from maybe gambling and online gambling at home, maybe alcoholism tends to be one of those sort of major trends that even the younger society is fighting at the moment.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that a lot of people are using alcohol to self-medicate and to numb a lot of their at-home issues or situations that they really would not like to be in, essentially. A lot of people are, I mean, and then also at the same time, people just don't want to think about things sometimes. And at the end of the day, alcoholism is a disease. It is something that needs to be treated. And so with James, although things tend to be going along the right direction, he's seeing someone, he sold an app, he's pretty much on the up and ups. His sense of imposter syndrome is something that he tends to run away from and doesn't like to think about, and that's what causes him to drink. Like if something is going too right, he would rather put a little bit of wrong into it rather than watch the world teach him a lesson, essentially, or watch the world make something go wrong for him. So he'd rather be in control of the rights and wrongs in his life by drinking again and by sending himself down that path.
And I suppose, Garrick, you're talking about a subject and a topic that's close to many people's hearts, and obviously single drunk female alcoholism. And obviously after hugely successful season one, have you found that people maybe have gotten contact with you in terms of your social media sites, fan forums, and say, if I can relate to the character James, I've been in those places myself, I've been to the dark places, thanks for your portrayal. It's shown, I have such a similar showing, it's showing me what I went through and sort of stuff like that. And when you hear those sort of messages, I presume those messages have come to you in sort of private, and you've probably read through a good lot of them. But is it sort of emotionally gratifying, or does it almost bring a tear to your eye when you read some of those sort of messages of maybe people who have hated being in very, very low places?
Yeah, definitely. I think that I've gotten a good amount of messages as far as like the show helping. But the one that really gets me is people just saying, "Hey, I was trying to explain what alcoholism is to my family and to my friends. It is not just like, oh, I'm drinking a lot and I drink to excess and all of that. It is just something that I struggle with consistently." And people are showing them single drunk female as a way to say, "Hey, here's the better excuse me. Here's the better example of what it is for me, what it truly looks like, how it is a constant struggle, and how it's not just, oh, I'm not drinking, so that means that I'm used to not drinking anymore and I can just go about my day." It is just something that you have to constantly work at. It is something that that you have to avoid triggers all of the time, and this show beautifully wraps that up or beautifully portrays that. And so I've gotten a lot of messages like that, and so those have been nice.
I suppose, Garrick, we have to realize that this is a TV series and you're playing fictional characters as well. And obviously there has to be stories and plots outside of the main sort of team as well. And do you still find time for yourself and Sam to have a bit of humor on sort of set, in terms of having that bit of release, that comic release that all actresses need to feel on set? When you're talking about sensitive subjects, there has to be fun going into a working environment. It can be sort of grimace sort of tone. Is there any sort of sets where you think to yourself, right, we went through a subject that's been a bit dark, let's take a break there, say, and then change the subject, change the topic between cast members, or you still have the bit of crack, dare I say, is the Irish word for it?
Yeah, definitely. We, I mean, all of us, everybody on the cast, we're all pretty friendly. We tended to have like I believe it was a Saturday night where we'd all like kind of get together and hang out for a little bit. It was a Friday or Saturday night. So we're all extremely friendly. So like when we're on set, we're laughing, we're joking, and then once it gets to like the very serious sides of it, where very very much like an on off switch. It is just like, all right, this is a good time. Let's let's go out, do our jobs, and then come back to the fun time. So because of that camaraderie, I feel like between all of the cast, we are trusting each other a lot more to be a little bit darker in our performances and be a little bit more heavy, because at the end of the day, these are my buddies.
And I suppose, Garrick, in terms of this, now you obviously a hugely successful concept, 20 episodes in so far in terms of 2 seasons. I'm just wondering, in terms of maybe looking further down the line, obviously with this sort of topic, you can stretch it so far. Is there sort of any sort of thoughts in terms of how you can probably take a concept and maybe make a few more sort of seasons out of it, or is it important really not to overstretch the barrel in terms of topics and content? Obviously, this in terms of drawing it out and maybe making it loses appeal, dare I say?
Yeah, I definitely think that there are more struggles and more stories that they can definitely, or the writers can definitely touch on. And I'm sure they will. They've been fantastic thus far. So I really, really, really do trust their process and trust what they come up with. Because again, they're pretty fantastic as far as like the writing. Like I feel like we aren't anything without the writing. And so yeah, I definitely, I don't like really have any like ideas as far as like what they can talk about. I do definitely think that they're doing a fantastic job thus far. So I really just trust what they come up with.
No problem. And I suppose, Garrick Bernard, for the final 30 seconds of this interview now, you might enlighten all our audience, all our listeners, why they should tune in en masse, get out their TV screens, maybe it's a laptop in terms of streaming, TV channels, whatever mode of transport, maybe an iPhone, a smartphone, in terms of watch Single Drunk Female season 2 on May the 31st here in Ireland. And Garrick Bernard, who plays James Chambers, what's in store for them?
Yeah, I think that this is a really, really well done and cinematically shot show. I think that it doesn't get too dark and in your face about the topic. We already know that the topic is dark, but it is just funny people dealing with a dark subject. It balances humor and drama in a really, really delightful way. And I think that you'll have a really, really nice time watching Sam deal with her different forms of sobriety.
On that note, Garrick Bernard, thanks for joining us for this evening to preview and promote season 2 of Single Drunk Female out here on Ireland on May the 31st. For me, Jim Conlan, an absolute pleasure talking to you on the airways, Garrick Bernard. And Garrick Bernard, no doubt we'll catch up after season 12 is dropped.
Yes, would love that. Yeah, definitely.
But for the moment, stay safe, take care, and God bless.
All right, take care.